Hello everyone. Our first review video of this semester is actually going to be how to use Blackboard for this class because we will be using it extensively and I want to go over sort of how things are organized. Yours will not have this giant yellow bar at the top. This is just so it can look like what a student sees. So first up, when you first get to the classroom page, you're going to be on the announcements page. Mostly this would be used to communicate in case of a weather emergency. So if we have cancellation or delay due to a snowstorm when it gets cold out, you have to check here. Oh, I didn't know isn't an excuse to, not get the work done when I say it has to be done by next week. So make sure you're checking these announcements. There is also occasionally other information I'd like you to know, but maybe it doesn't need to go out over email because I know everyone gets enough emails. There is also a thing here called syllabus. So the syllabus will be up here in PDF form. There's also a classroom expectations document so that you can see what I expect in my particular classroom. It can be different for different teachers, but in my case, this is what I'm looking for. There will also be a video going over some of the things that are on there. The big one is the assignments page. So this class has a lot of individual exercises and assets and things that we need to be able to all use together. And the overview of this is all here up at the top. But each week, or each group of assignments is broken down by week, and you can see the dates. And usually the assignments will be listed under there. Do not take this as gospel. It might change between when I make the video and when we actually have class. All right. But each week is its own folder. So you would go in, you'd see a folder full of information. You can go back to assignments to see the other folders. These will show up sequentially. So when class first starts, there will only be one, and then they will show up as we go. This is to prevent people from trying to go too far ahead before we actually know what's going on. Oftentimes, these exercises also act as lecture material, so we'll click and follow along. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes what we need to start learning just needs to kind of start from scratch, and then exercises are later. So you will see something labeled lecture materials, and that means it's just for that lecture. You don't have to hand it in. The bigger ones would be the ones that say assignment or exercises, right? There we go. I have to change the words on these folders. But the ones that say assignments, and they're numbered, and then they have a name on them. And so each one is its own thing. It's a different idea that we're going to be working with. They're probably related. We're not going to change gears that much. But each one of these is labeled so we can know what it is. Sometimes it's just a set of words saying do this thing. Sometimes it involves going into a folder because there might be multiple things like instructions, an image to get started with. Other times there might be, very complex files that I need to share with you. Whatever it is, all that information for each one is under a folder for each one. And then when we get to the end of the exercises, there's something that says week 2 submission. So all of your work is handed in through Blackboard. That way I can track who's handed in what and be able to grade you much more easily. So it'll say week, X submission, upload all, however many files from this particular week, and then I will name them so that you know what it is I'm talking about. So you can see color schemes, coloring book, create your own page. Color schemes, coloring book, create your own page, right? So it's helping you line up what's going on your computer or your hard drive with what's going on in here. And the way this works is that we click on it and it says, well, all those combined are worth this many points. It's due on this particular date. Pretty much everything that isn't a midterm or the final is due the next class in the morning, like when you get in. So you want to be handing them in as soon as possible. There is not time to work on these at the start of class unless I explicitly say so, which doesn't usually happen. And the way you attach them is you go to Browse My Computer, and it will bring you to whatever folder you're working from, and then you can attach a few files. In this case, I've got a few PSD files, right? And you can attach multiple files at the same time. Please only submit things once, altogether. If you submit 2 of them now and 1 of them later, that gets very confusing on my end, and then you'll get upset that I missed something. Like, no, put them all together all at once. If you make a mistake once in the semester, that's fine. But you want to, as a general rule of thumb, wait till you have everything done, submit it all at once. You can add comments here that I would see later on. So I had trouble with the lasso selection tool, right? Whatever it is you'd want me to take note of, or that you were thinking about, or that you had trouble with, you can type those notes in there, and then we hit submit. Now, depending on the file size, that might quickly submit, or it might take a second. And you can see there's no indication that that was doing anything. What was happening though is that these PSD files are somewhat large, and so it was taking time to upload them. Now once you get here, it has uploaded the stuff. It is going to give you this nonsense about waiting 100 and something seconds for this to work. That's usually that's nonsense. The things are up here now. You can see this here. This is what I see when I log in. I can see that your files are in here. I can download them. I can see what your notes are, and then I can post your grades. So this is why writing your notes can be important if you have something you want to communicate to me. If we were to go back to that assignment, week 2, which is where we were at, and then submission, there we go. So it's the same thing, and in this case, now it's pulling up a preview. It never pulls up the preview the first time you submit something. It's a glitch in the system. I don't know what its problem is. But it will usually afterwards. You can get these files back from here. Like you yourself can go download your files. Do not use this as the backup. Do not use this as your storage. This is a terrible way to storage. This is like if 2 other things fail and if your hard drive's stolen and Google Drive is crashed, which doesn't happen, but and then you want to like get some stuff back from Blackboard, then yes, use this. But otherwise, don't, please. But these are just working files from class. You will see these later in the semester. But that's how you can upload all 3 at once. Now, your grades will be under this My Grades tool. And a few things will happen. So if you submit something, there will be a little exclamation point. I also see this exclamation point. So that just means you've put it in and I haven't graded it yet. Keep in mind there are 18 of you and 1 of me, and I teach multiple classes. So things will not be graded just the next day magically. I'm going to switch to a different class real quick. Alright, so I've switched to a class where we already have more assignments. This is me as a fake student's grade book. So when you click on My Grades, this is what you get. The top few grades are going to be things like the average, which is the percentage, the total points, which is literally like how many points you have earned, and this bottom number here is how many, count so far, like how many things have been graded. And then participation, that number will start at something like 20, for the month of September, and then the total number will go up. So you'll get a grade at the end of semester end of September for how many points you earned that month for participation. And then once I grade in October, that it'll be a larger total. So you can get a sense of how you're doing participation wise as the semester goes. You can click view description to see, this is for spring semester, but you can see how many points will be total. 5 points in this class per class. Don't miss class. And then if something is graded, you're going to see it's this many out of this many points. So this was 13 out of 15. This was 15 out of 15. I showed you before that if there's a exclamation point with a dash, it means I haven't graded it yet. This right here means I got a 0. This is what getting a 0 looks like. It'll actually say 0 of 12. And then we can click this here. And it seems the teacher has told me that I submitted the wrong files. Please note that if you make some sort of clerical error, submit the wrong file, something goes corrupt, we as teachers cannot put like a information bubble up there without sticking a grade in. And at any rate, if you do mess it up, well, you don't get points until you fix it anyways. So in my class, my policy is that zeros can pretty much always change. If you hand something in broken, fix it, and then I'll give you a grade for the actual work. If you are very late on something, if you're more than 2 weeks late on something, I will give it a 0 so that you understand what it is doing to your grade. And then once you hand things in, we will bring the grade up. You will not get full credit because it was late. And one of the other reasons I like to point this out is that zeros are very, 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 very bad for your grade. Failing because you don't do the work is a terrible way to go through the semester. Of the 3 assignments, the smallest one is the one I didn't do, and I'm barely pulling a D, right? I'm barely passing the class because I only did 2/3 of the work, right? That's not where you want to find yourself, because if you only do 2/3 of the work, well, 1/3 off already brings you down to a 66. And that's assuming you would get perfect scores on everything, which most of us do not. So make sure you're handing all of your stuff in on time. I won't track you down. I won't bug you. This is college. So the expectation is you'll do it yourself and that you will check. I don't want to get emails saying, well, what's my grade? How am I doing? I don't know. Click on my grades. I have people asking me in class, oh, how am I doing? Click on my grades. You will see everything there. Now, if you have more complex, nuanced questions about how to improve things like that, I will gladly have that conversation with you. But bare minimum, you need to be checking your grades at my grades. We will likely not be using discussion, so don't bother with that one. But assignments is where you find the assignments. My grades is where you will find the final grades for that. One last thing. I said before that these weeks will show up as we go. So technically I've made these visible just for this video. You will not see these when we first get started. They roll out. The same exact thing can be said for each individual assignment. Since we're not going to be doing this one right at 8 a.m., right? I'm going to have them timed to only show up when we would approximately need them. My reason for this is because people will read them and then start doing them and they will jump ahead. This is a bad thing. Do not jump ahead because I have so much lecture and explanation that goes with these. The actual instructions are very slight, right? There's usually not much written there. Use the drawing tools to create 2 bird cages of your own, right? That doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you what you're supposed to be using for the drawing. It doesn't tell you how complex they should be. There's a lot of small things that matter because if you don't do them right, you're not learning the thing. You're not showing that you've learned the thing that you need to. So don't get a jump on things. If you do and you do it wrong, you're going to have to redo it. So things will roll out as the day goes on. If you see something pop up very early accidentally, it means I pressed a wrong button. Cool. But there is always context, right? We need to learn the things in class. So please be patient and work on the things as I assign them. You'll have lots of work time at the end of class, right? We will kind of get started on this one, then get started on this one, then get started on this one, and then you'll have loads of time in the last hour of class to get the work done. All right, so that is our overview for Blackboard. Announcements, syllabus, assignments, my grades. Those are the big ones that you want to be turning to and getting a handle on.